The 1970s gave us disco, bell-bottoms, and some of the worst motorcycles ever built. These weren't just bad. They were engineering disasters that left riders stranded, broke, and shaken. It was supposed to be motorcycling's golden age. Honda's CB750 had changed everything. Japan was flooding the world with reliable machines, and Europe was fighting to stay alive. But behind the legends came a wave of flops that nearly ruined entire brands. What follows is a crash course in how not to build a motorcycle. 12. Honda CB450, the forgotten dinosaur. 444 cubic centimeters, parallel twin. 45 horsepower, 185 kilograms. By the 70s, the CB450 was a living fossil, still kickstart only when everyone else had electric start. Heavy as a boat anchor, with pathetic 45 horsepower. You could get more power from a modern scooter. Honda dealers couldn't give these things away. They were taking up valuable showroom space for bikes people actually wanted. The CB450 wasn't just outdated, it was embarrassingly irrelevant. Sure, it would run forever. Unfortunately, running forever doesn't mean much when nobody wants to ride the thing. 11. Suzuki GT380. The triple threat that wasn't. 371 cubic centimeters, two-stroke triple. 38 horsepower, 170 kilograms. Suzuki looked at their successful GT550 and GT750 triples and thought, what if we made one that's smaller, slower, and more frustrating? The GT380 promised three-cylinder excitement, but delivered constant disappointment. It fouled spark plugs faster than you could replace them. That 38 horsepower from 371 cubic centimeters was pathetic. You could get more from a well-tuned single. It wasn't fast enough to thrill, wasn't reliable enough to trust, and wasn't cheap enough to forgive. The motorcycle equivalent of a middle child, ignored and unloved. 10. Harley-Davidson SX250. American badge, Italian disaster. 246 cubic centimeters single, Ermachi built. 22 horsepower, 120 kilograms. Harley executives watched Honda sell lightweight bikes by the truckload. Their brilliant solution? Slap Harley badges on cheap Italian singles and pretend they're American motorcycles. The SX250 was barely reliable enough to start, let alone ride. When it broke, and it would break, parts availability was a joke. Your local Harley dealer probably didn't even know these bikes existed. Even die-hard Harley fanatics wouldn't touch them. The SX250 was a betrayal wrapped in a package that didn't even work. 9. Kawasaki H1 500 Mach 3, the Widowmaker. 498 cubic centimeters, two-stroke triple. 60 horsepower, 174 kilograms. The H1 wasn't just bad, it was genuinely dangerous. This death trap earned the nickname the Widowmaker for very good reasons. That 60 horsepower two-stroke triple could hit 60 miles per hour in under 4 seconds and run the quarter mile in less than 13 seconds. Mind-blowing performance for 1969. The problem was everything else. The frame had the rigidity of a wet noodle, hit a bump while accelerating, and violent wobbles could throw you into traffic. The brakes were laughably inadequate. The handling, that's a generous term. Speed without control equals disaster. This wasn't just a bad motorcycle, it was a public menace. 8. Honda CB550, the pointless twin. 498 cubic centimeters, parallel twin. 34 horsepower. 193 kilograms. Honda had revolutionized motorcycling with multi-cylinder machines, so naturally, they took a giant step backward with the CB500T, a bored-out CB450 that was somehow worse, heavier, slower, and uglier than its predecessor. The 34 horsepower from nearly 500 cc was embarrassing. Honda's own CB554 made more power and was infinitely smoother. The vibration would rattle your fillings loose. Why would anyone choose this vibrating, underpowered twin when they could have Honda's smooth four-cylinder for similar money? The CB500T existed in a parallel universe where logic didn't apply. 7. Suzuki RE5 rotary. The space-age disaster. 497cc, single rotor, Wankel, 62 horsepower, 229 kilograms. In 1974, Suzuki bet the farm on rotary engine technology. The RE5 was supposed to be the future of motorcycling. Instead, it became one of the most spectacular commercial failures in motorcycle history. The rotary engine produced 62 horsepower with almost no vibration. The gauges looked like they belonged in a spaceship. On paper, it seemed decades ahead of its time. Reality was brutal, obscenely heavy at 229 kilograms, thirsty as a drunk sailor, required constant attention and expensive maintenance, cost significantly more than proven machines like Honda's CB750. Most sat on showroom floors gathering dust until they were sold for scrap value. The RE5 wasn't just a failure, it was a cautionary tale about experimental technology. 6. Ducati 500 GTL. When Italians try to be Japanese. 498 cubic centimeters, parallel twin, 35 horsepower, 190 kilograms. Ducati tried to copy the Japanese formula and nearly destroyed the company. The 500 GTL was supposed to compete with Honda and Yamaha's middleweights. Instead, it was a disaster. No distinctive V-twin engine, no racing pedigree, no Italian flair. Just a boring parallel twin making pathetic 35 horsepower that broke constantly. The electrical system was a nightmare. The engine had oiling issues that could seize without warning. Worst part? It wasn't even pretty. Ducati always compensated for questionable reliability with gorgeous styling. The 500 GTL looked like a Japanese bike, designed by someone who'd only heard motorcycles described over the phone. This disaster nearly bankrupted Ducati and taught them never try to be something you're not. 5. Kawasaki Z1R Turbo. The premature explosion. 1,015 cubic centimeters. Inline 4 with turbo. Claimed 100 horsepower. 250 kilograms. Some genius at Kawasaki decided to experiment with turbocharging before anyone understood how to make it work. The result was a mechanical time bomb. Take Kawasaki's proven Z1000 engine and strap a turbo to it. What could go wrong? Everything. The fueling system couldn't handle boost properly, leading to constant detonation that would grenade engines without warning. When it worked, which was almost never, the power was impressive. Most owners spent more time rebuilding engines than riding. The survivors were usually parked permanently after their second engine explosion. 4. Honda CB750A Honda-matic. The automatic tragedy. 736cc, inline 4, 47 horsepower, 230 kilograms. Honda looked at their revolutionary CB750 and made a decision that still makes enthusiasts weep. Let's add an automatic transmission. The 2-speed Honda-matic robbed nearly 20 horsepower and added 23 kilos. Power delivery was slushy and unresponsive, about as exciting as driving an automatic minivan. But here's what made this truly offensive. It stripped away the fundamental joy of motorcycling. The clutch lever, gear shifter, engine braking, these aren't just functional. They're what makes motorcycles special. The Honda-matic eliminated all of that for brain-dead simplicity. Heavy, slow, boring. It satisfied nobody. 3. Yamaha TX750, the self-destructing twin. 743cc, parallel twin, 63 horsepower, 220 kilograms. Yamaha's TX750 looked great on paper. Large displacement twin with sophisticated engineering, including a balance shaft to eliminate vibration. In reality, it was a reliability nightmare. The complicated dry sump oiling system provided superior opportunities for catastrophic oil starvation. Engines seized without warning, often within the first few thousand miles. Yamaha recalled virtually every TX750 ever built, sometimes multiple times. Dealers stopped ordering them. Customers stopped buying them. When the TX750 worked, it was actually pretty good. But none of that mattered when your engine turned into expensive scrap metal. 2. Harley-Davidson AMF years. The American Nightmare. 750cc to 1200cc. V-twins. 55 to 65 horsepower. In 1969, Harley was sold to American Machine and Foundry, a company that made bowling equipment and golf carts. The result was a decade of motorcycles so bad, they nearly killed the entire brand. Oil leaks weren't just common, they were guaranteed. Electrical systems failed constantly. Build quality was so inconsistent that identical models had completely different problems. The legendary shovelhead became a symbol of American manufacturing decline. Owners spent more time fixing problems than riding. The phrase Harley-Davidson wasn't just a joke, it was accurate. AMF nearly destroyed one of America's most iconic brands through sheer incompetence and penny pinching. 1. Norton Commando Mark III. Electric Start, the British Betrayal, 828cc, parallel twin, 60 horsepower, 200 kilograms, the absolute worst motorcycle of the 1970s. Norton took one of Britain's most beloved bikes and turned it into a symbol of everything wrong with the British motorcycle industry. The original Commando was magnificent, a proper British superbike that could outrun anything. Then, Norton improved it with Electric Start, and everything went catastrophically wrong. The Sprag clutch was too weak, failing repeatedly and leaving riders stranded. The electrical system was so poorly designed that even when the clutch worked, the bike often wouldn't start. Many owners removed the Electric Start entirely if they could find parts. This wasn't just a bad motorcycle, it was a betrayal. The Mark III was the final nail in the coffin of the British motorcycle industry. When production ended in 1977, it marked the end of an era. The 70s taught us that building a bad motorcycle isn't just about poor engineering. It's about forgetting what makes motorcycles special. These disasters shared one theme. They lost sight of what riders actually wanted. Some were ambitious failures, others were cynical cash grabs. All serve as reminders that reputation takes decades to build and can be destroyed in a single model year. The good news? These disasters led to better motorcycles. The bad news? If you own any of these mechanical nightmares, you have our sincere condolences. Sometimes the best way to appreciate good bikes is to remember just how spectacularly wrong things can go.